This is the Awakened Journalist with Emiliana Molina Fajardo. We do journalism for the good of humankind. Our main goal is to empower, inspire, and enrich your life with every interviewee that opens up to share their personal journey. We tell stories in English and Spanish. Guys, welcome everyone to the Awakened Journalist. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and start with a quote from our interviewee today. He says, "From the space of your heart, you master the universe." And we're going to ask him in a little bit what he means by that exactly. So Igor Galibov is a higher self channeler. Igor had a very sharp spiritual awakening in 2004 with a healer who he says opened his heart in spiritual surgery to change his life forever. After this energetic healing, Igor says that his senses were completely heightened, as well as his abilities to see and feel into different dimensional realities. So we're going to talk a little bit about what a higher self channeler does, a little bit about these different dimensional realities, how he was able to tap into that after his awakening in 2004, the power of breath work, and if we have time, probably a little bit about fears as well and how you can identify them so that they don't paralyze you, especially with what Igor was saying earlier before we started the interview. It's time for action now with the energy feeling around us. So Igor, let's start with the quote that you sent me: "From the space of your heart, you master the universe." I think if you haven't experienced this or felt this, it may be hard to understand. But how would you describe this?
To describe this, it's a feeling. We're emotional beings, right? We always feel things. Our emotions are either joyful or sad or happy, distorted, and this is all part of the heart. The heart allows us to feel things. So the heart allows us to feel things because it is the center of our universe. So each individual has its own energy field, and everything connects back into our heart space. If we bring awareness to our heart, and we taught that from childhood, our senses in our mind are focused more on feeling our energy fields instead of what we are seeing or what we are taught or what we are kind of given to experience. So we go to experience from within. The heart space is like a vortex. It is a vortex. It's a vortex that transmutes and transforms all energies. It's negative or positive, whatever you want to label it. The heart just consumes it and transmutes that energy. And once you come into that heart space, you'll start to understand and feel that everything around you is actually working for you. That there is no separation. It is the illusion of the mind, because the mind has the free will to think either positively or negatively. But the heart does not have a separation. It absorbs everything and sees it as a positive thing. Just like oxygen we breathe in and breathe out, the trees take the carbon monoxide that we breathe out and they give us oxygen. Okay? So the heart takes all the energies and transmutes it all. And when you come into this stillness of your mind, is surrendering the mind to the heart. And once we do that, you start to understand and feel things. The joyfulness overcomes you. The pleasure overcomes you. The excitement of life overcomes you. And you start to understand that you are Buddha, you are Christ, you are Moses or Muhammad. You are every single being, and therefore you will act from compassion and kindness to all people around you, no matter what the circumstances are, because you'll understand that they are a vibration of your existence.
Exactly, exactly. And if this sounds a little bit confusing to any of you listening, don't believe anything we say, experience it and really dive into that space in your heart so that you can truly understand what it feels like to live within that vibration. And you'll start seeing too that the energy around you, the people that will start coming into your life, start shifting, and the experiences are just kind of like, I guess, more compassionate, more empathetic, more loving every time you start creating deeper connections, every time you take the space to go within yourself, in your heart. So Igor, okay, so we started with your quote. Now let's talk a little bit about, I don't know what you think should go first, if describing what a higher self channeler does, or if we should tell your story first and your spiritual awakening and how that led you to become a higher self channeler.
Okay, so whichever you want.
Uh,
You choose the question, I'll answer.
okay, so let's start with your story. You know, what's your story and what led you to that spiritual awakening in 2004?
So in about 2004, my mother went through a trauma where she had a surgery done, physical surgery here, and the doctors did not go well. So my parents heard of this healer in South America who does spiritual surgeries, and they tried all kinds of modern medicine. They decided to go visit him. So my dad couldn't go. He said, "Okay, you go." So I said, "Okay, I'll go as a translator." And after a 12-hour flight, when I arrived there, a gentleman comes up to me and says, "My angels told me I'm supposed to meet you there." His name was Frank. And I was like, "Angels? What are you talking about?" Now, before this, I worked in financial industry on Wall Street. That was my background. If you give somebody $1, it makes the world go around. That is what moves things. And that was my understanding. And after that, I was like, okay, he probably heard my name somewhere, and I just kind of blew him off. So the following day, when we go to this healer, he does about 1,000 people a day. And it's like some visible, some invisible. And my turn came up, to cut the long story short. When my turn came up, he said, "Your heart is closed. Do you want me to open it?" And I said, "Okay." After that experience of what he did and what I experienced there, he came up to me, took his finger, put it inside my mouth, and next thing I know, I was standing behind him, looking at myself. And I can see the silhouette of his body, and I'm trying to open my eyes, and I couldn't open it. And he takes surgical scissors with a round tip, sticks it in my nose, and hits it with the bottom of his hand, and I can feel it from the inside hitting the top of my skull. And that was like, I'm looking at myself and all that is happening, yet I'm feeling it, and I'm so confused, but it's so fast. Next thing I know, he pulls it out, and I'm back in my body. And I'm back in my body, and you're supposed to go to your room for 24 hours and relax. No pain, nothing. I felt so powerful. I felt like Superman. I can fly. Like, it had so much energy. It was unbelievable, and my body felt so restored. The following day, after 24 hours of being in my room, I come out, and that gentleman, his name was Frank, he's there, and he's telling me, "Wow, you are much softer now. I can talk to you. Your angels, my angels have a message for you." I'm like, wait a minute. If you can see things, what is going on here? What happened to me? What I experienced? You have to explain to me. This is like crazy. How, what, where, why? All these questions start to arise. My physical mind was like, no way, this is happening, because I never experienced something like that. Yeah, I knew like there's angels. We read the religious aspect of life. That was it, but nothing that you experience like this. So he passes on, says, "Put your hand out. I have a message for you." I put my hand out. Next thing I know, he puts his hand on top, and all of a sudden a jolt of energy just runs through my body. And he's like, "Okay, this is the message." I was like, I was expecting like a box or something, put your hand out. No, nothing. That was it. I was like, okay. I go to bed. The following morning, I wake up and I feel like I have a hat on. I'm like, whoa, okay, this is crazy. I look in the mirror, there's no hat. I put my hands, there's no hat. I drop my hands down, and all of a sudden, my hands are feeling that they're going deep into the earth, but yet they are still here. But I'm feeling the earth. I was like, okay, I need to get coffee. I get up and I start to walk outside. Now we're in a third country. There's a cow standing there. And all of a sudden, I see the organs of the cow. I'm standing 10 feet away from it. And just not even thinking, I reach in with my hands, not physical, but the energetic hands, and I can feel the heartbeat. I'm like, okay, this is like something, must be on some good stuff. I need to go get coffee. I go to the line, I get my coffee, and as I'm standing in the line, there's a woman in front of me and I'm feeling pain and I walk away, there's no pain. I go back in the line, there's pain and I'm not understanding what's going on. My stomach is hurting. So as she turns around, she was pregnant and I see white beams of light going through her stomach. The entities that were there, they were healing her. And I didn't quite understand that. So I tried to find this guy who passed this message over to see what's going on, but he was nowhere to be found. So 3 days later, he appears. I'm like, what happened? What's going on? I'm feeling things. I'm seeing things. I don't understand what's going on. He's like, oh, I need to teach you how to protect yourself. I'm like, protect myself from what? He's like, well, there's these things called chakras. I'm like, chakras? What is this? And he starts to explain to me what they do and how to expand my energies. I was like, okay, this is crazy. After 2 weeks and we get back home, I was not able to be around people. I started to feel everything was going on. I started to feel their knee problems, their organ problems. I was like a kid. I was feeling everything, but I had no wisdom.
Okay.
So during that time period, I said, okay, I need to start going, like figuring this out because this is painful. My friends started to turn away. Don't tell me this. I couldn't go out to different places because it was complex to feel all these energies. So after that, I kind of spent about 3-4 years in meditation. I understood that physical reality is a matrix in a sense, and I was working with different beings, traveling to different dimensions, dream within dreams, within dreams, within dreams, and constantly my interest was completely in the ethers. I had lost all interest in the physical reality. So after that time, kind of, okay, I'm $150,000 in credit card debt and I need to do something. I need to come back to physical reality. So I started to train myself how to become grounded more. And during those 3 years, I was spending a lot of time with different beings from different solar systems, different angels and entities, trying to understand how things work. I started to work on myself, on my belief process, how my thoughts were creating my reality, how my thoughts were separating and creating negativity and positivity. So through that experience on my own, I started to understand how to create balance because I started to understand physical body. I started to learn anatomy. Okay, I'm feeling something here. What is this? Oh, that's a liver. I didn't know that. And as I started to explore, I started to understand that everything is tied in. Your physical body and your energy bodies communicate, and the relationship between them, the relationship between the higher self and the spirit and the physical body. So all those little things started to come together as I was going in and out, basically going back into my personality, back into my spiritual self. I love being in my spiritual self because there's nothing needs to be done. You're just up and gone and that's it. And forget about this reality here. And after some time of going back in and out, I started to go out to malls. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling pain after I come home from a mall or like walking into a Walmart. What do? I started to notice that I still had judgment. So whenever we have a judgment on somebody or something, we're actually lowering our vibration to that frequency where we're matching it. And that's how we pick up what we call negative energy. Otherwise, if there's no judgment or just acceptance of that being, therefore you are holding the space for them instead of judging them and absorbing that negativity.
Okay.
So these things I started to practice as far as I started to understand, okay, I need to change my belief system. So I started to change my belief system. My mom thinks this way, my dad thinks this way. We adapt stuff from our parents. How do I change this? And it's not their fault because that's the way they were raised. But we have an opportunity to realize this, so we have to change that within ourselves without judging them. So as we go through these transformations, we start to expand our consciousness. This is where the guidance comes in of the higher self. And the higher self guides us in a way of neutrality. It doesn't see things as a negative or a positive. It sees things as an experience. So if we see things as an experience, therefore we observers. So therefore, everything around you will start to serve you in a positive way. Even if the personality thinks it's negative, the higher self says, it's an experience, just observe it. As you observe it, you give it a meaning. give it a positive meaning, even to a negative thing that you think it is. If you give it a positive label, it serves you positivity. The outcome will become positive in life. So the higher self is basically a channel that knows it all. It's a channel of sense. It's a channel of awareness. It is a channel of you at a higher frequency when you lose your personality.
Okay, wait, explain that. It is you at a higher frequency when you lose your personality. So when you are able to get past all those patterns that we were taught by our parents, by society.
Correct.
Okay.
So you really remove the judgment part, the labeling part, because the higher self sees everything as an experience. So you have to see things as an experience that serves you. So when you start to work with the higher self, it is the activation of the pineal, pituitary, and the hypothalamus glands. The gland system in the physical body, when it's crystallized, allows the higher frequencies to integrate, because what it wants to do, how can you have clean water in a cup when the cup is dirty? So the whole thing is that you are the cup. So you have to purify yourself, and purification becomes from your belief systems. Any belief system that segregate and separate things are not part of the higher self. So if you say, oh, I'm not eating this apple, it's rotten. No, you don't have to say that. You just choose not to eat that apple without a judgment. Wow. So you have made a choice without labeling it as bad. Or a lot of spiritual community, I don't eat meat, it's bad. No, it's not bad. It's just you don't need to eat it, or if you want to eat it, you can. It is the vibration of your body that determines if you want it or not the mind, because we were taught that. So if we start to understand the thought process of the higher self, it is very subtle. It is very peaceful. It is the intuitive side that talks to you without any chatter of the mind. So how do you know that is your higher self? Every single one of us had this experience. I just thought of my friend and they called me. Right? Okay. And when you thought of that friend and observed that thought, it came very gently and left very gently. It was not like you talking to yourself in your mind. It was very subtle. That happens in the back of your mind. Okay? It comes in very gently and leaves. If you start to paying attention to that part of your brain and those part of communication, that is your higher self talking to you. It will not force things. It will not tell you, hey, listen to me. No, it will wait. Lifetimes if it needs to, because it is timeless, therefore it has patience, what we don't. So it comes in gently, and we have to learn how to listen to that self. And that self can only be heard is when the mind surrenders to the heart space.
I love that. I love that. So it's, I guess, an easy way to explain it to people would be like a higher consciousness, but it's not that ego talk that we're having, like he said, she said, oh my God, why did she do this to me? Why did she act this way? What a bitch, or, you know, that would be ego talk, because you're judging, you're getting angry at something somebody else did. The higher consciousness or the higher self would simply observe, for example, the fact that somebody decided to scream at you at work today. And so your higher self will simply observe that person screaming, understand that whatever they're screaming about is because something was triggered within them. And you can simply take that as a gift and an experience to help you grow from it and nurture your wisdom in a way.
Exactly. And in a sense, when we see somebody explode or become angry or want to punish somebody, that is because they are hurt inside themselves. Exactly. And therefore, instead of getting back at them, we need to sometimes just hold them, maybe sometimes nurture them and let them know that we understand. But this is a part of everyday society that we're not taught this from childhood. Now, if we were taught this from childhood, we would not perceive this way towards people. We would see it completely differently. So therefore, it's very important for us to be the observer and hold the space for those people that's needed. And sometimes just a simple hug, it will neutralize things completely, because that is the energy of the heart. You know, it just absorbs all that, what we call negative or positive. it doesn't look at it that way. It just takes it all in. It's a vortex that transmutes it all. It's like the black hole in the universe.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think, I mean, to get to that point, it sounds easier said than done. It can be a little hard and challenging, but what do you recommend? So for example, if like somebody screamed at you at work today and you're still getting triggered by those screams and by that person's reaction, how do you then manage getting out of that situation, or understanding what that trigger within you is showing you to heal, so that you can then be able to have that wisdom or that empathy and compassion to give this person a hug, right? Because sometimes if somebody comes screaming at you, all you want to do is scream back and be like, what the F? I'm gonna, you know? So
Yes. So we have to understand energy, our energy field. All of our experiences are stored in it. So when you approach somebody in your life and they are a reflection of you, okay, that is a reflection of you that you need to learn. And once you learn that, these events will no longer happen to you. The events happen to us is because it's a learning curve. So once you accept that event and you move on from it gently, not abruptly, but gently accepting it and understanding it, you have learned your lesson. Now, it might happen again, once or twice, but if you understand that, okay, and accept it with all of your being, with all of your mind, with all of your heart, then you will say, okay, there was a lesson for me and I learned this lesson. So therefore, that event will never happen again to you in life. Nobody's going to scream at you because it's not part of your vibration. When they are next to you, they will think twice how to express themselves, because they will feel that off of you, because you feel the solidity of that channel within yourself.
I love that. I love that. And with all of your experience, do you have tools that can help people get to that level if they're feeling triggered person?
So number one tool, whenever we go off balance, number one thing is, step number one is your breath. So what happens is, with our breath, even people that are watching right now, pay attention to your breath. Where does your breath go? Naturally, our breath is supposed to go all the way to our belly, and our belly has to expand. When a child is born in a hospital, first thing they look at a child, they hold him in the hand, they look if the belly's rising when they breathe. If the belly is rising, that means the lungs are working to its full capacity and every single organ is operating at the level that it needs to. So as you breathe in as adults, we need to breathe there. About age of 3 or 4, we change that breath and we start to breathe shallow to our chest, or when we breathe in, we suck our stomach in. It should be the opposite effect. So when you breathe in, stomach has to expand. Because oxygen comes into your body, it activates the electrons within your blood to circulate at a speed of light to match the vibration of your spirit and your soul. So when that happens, your nervous system starts to illuminate and starts to create a balance within itself. So if we understand that, right away, breathing in and out, breathing in and out, you're activating the nervous system to become more at peace, your mind and your heart. So this is a vehicle. It is not your body. We associate, this is my body. I can do whatever I want. That's the ego speaks. But this is the vessel of my soul. Therefore, I will take care of it and nurture it and give it what it needs. Not what my mind thinks, but what you feel it. We are emotional beings. The emotion needs to be felt. So that's the heart. The heart energy feels. As we start to feel that, you start to say, okay, I am coming off balance. Let me take a few breaths. And through that, right away, you will feel the change in your body. So the workshop that's coming up on Sunday at 3 p.m., it is actually on that. It teaches, I'm basically guiding people of understanding this vehicle, how it operates, all the organs, all the nervous systems, the programming within them, the bone structure, all of that, how it all operates with your electromagnetic field, your energy bodies, what they do and how they communicate amongst them. If our physical body is complex, our energy bodies are even more complex. Doctors these days still don't fully understand how certain organs work. You eat a piece of fruit and it becomes you. it becomes part of you, literally, it absorbs, right? Our energy bodies work in a most magnificent way. And on top of it, they're multidimensional. So that means they are tapping into your parallel realities, past life, future lives that are occurring at the same time. So you will learn about the chakra systems that are in the spiritual bodies and how they communicate as well. So there's a whole experience that I went for 10 years of myself, which the tools that I'm putting out to give to people so they can be free, so they can wake up every day happy and joyful and understand that their reality is serving them. They are the creators. They can master their own universe. And that's where true freedom comes, is when we understand ourselves and we are in control of our reactions and actions, not somebody else.
So true. And just to let people know, the workshop that's coming up that Igor is doing is on activating energy bodies. And at the end, we'll give them more information as well. But I believe it's via Zoom, right? It's going to be online.
It's via Zoom. And if you are in the Philadelphia area, New Jersey, Delaware, it's in person as well.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
At this point, I think we have over 100 registers. So, yeah, it's amazing. And I'm doing this completely just out of love, because I would love to see people be free. That would be the most amazing thing. If every single one of us is free, how different this world would be.
And if we're all allowing ourselves to feel the emotions and to embrace them, and not judge them, it would be for sure a better world as well.
And that's what we're going to be experiencing, is how to feel that, to step into that emotion so you can be the master of your own energies.
I love that. Igor, to add to the point that you were saying about, feelings and the heart and letting go of your brain and your ego, I'm trying to remember what research I read this in, but just to help people that are more scientific or that need scientific evidence to believe in what we're saying, there's been research recently, and it's just as simple as you can be brain dead in a hospital and still be alive, but your heart can't stop beating, because then you literally die. So I read somewhere that there's new research that people are reconsidering that the brain is actually the heart and not our brain, and what we've thought to be the center of everything. So I don't know what you think about that, but
there's yin and yang, positive and negative charge. Like a battery has two. You need a positive and negative in order for the battery to work. Our physical body is like that. You have a positive charge, you have a negative charge, you have the proton and the neutron, right? Everything works together. This mind and the heart needs to work in synchronicity. If you are only in your heart space, then it becomes very complex to operate in the physical reality. If you're only in your mind, then it also becomes that you are working only for selfish reasons. So these things need to be synchronized and balanced. The whole thing about life is being neutral to things. And when we find that neutrality, you're neither pulling or pushing, and you're understanding the natural flow of nature, the natural flow of existence. And that's what we are. If we are made in the image of God, then we need to operate that way. And to me, God is Gaia, the earth. She's alive. She allows us to live here. How does she work? How does she work in unison with the moon and the sun without any pulling or pushing? They're naturally flowing constantly. If we allow those energies of our heart and our mind to flow naturally all the time, you will always be in balance. You will always be happy. You'll always see the positivity in things without even trying, because there's a certain circuitry within your physical body that allows you to illuminate yourself and to radiate this out into the world. So instead of being affected by people, you'll become the effect.
I love that. I love that. Okay, let's move on to breath work. Because when I met you in San Diego with Kata, you guys told me a story. You were leading a spiritual retreat. Catalina, yes. You were leading a spiritual retreat, and you were teaching this very powerful breath work. And we're not going to say any names or anything, just because to protect this person in general. But one of the attendees, with the breath work that she was doing with you and with the people that were there, ended up having an orgasmic spiritual experience. Oh, look, there's Kata. ¿Cómo estás, Kata? Un abrazo enorme. So can you tell us about that, and how a person through the breath can actually have an energetic orgasmic experience?
So for each is different. For this individual, the breath work that was going so deep, it's so intense. It is the time when you want to give up. Okay, it's a time when you're ready to surrender and you cannot go no more. You have to keep pushing yourself. So you have to understand that going beyond this body. And for that individual especially, was going so deep that they had a healing within their womb. And that healing allowed the orgasm to expand through the body. During that process, it's a emotional release as well, an emotional healing that happens where the balance in the body takes place. So through the deep breath work that she went through, that was guided by us, it was the most powerful thing for her because it opened her up. And that allowed the orgasm to run through the whole body, healing her and restoring her energy fields. So for each is different. For some people might have a shift in their physical body, or shoulder or heart, or some sort of a adjustment in the hips. And that will take a permanent healing. Basically, it's a permanent healing that happens. This is very deep, and the intention has to be set. The person has to be ready, really willing and wanting to change and transform themselves. And when they come into that, and they come with their heart, completely accepting that trauma, understanding that it would serve them, and absorbing that, literally, physically feeling it really deeply, and then it just, this one moment, it goes so, and just gone, dissipates, because energy transforms. And this person went through a beautiful transformation, but that the whole group has experienced just by her doing this. The whole group felt it as well, as they were holding the space for her, and she was doing the transformation for all of us at the same time. So we're all reflections. So that one person had that experience, all of us had that beautiful enlightening moment.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and the people that were there with you, that were also that I spoke to briefly, mentioned how just watching her go through this was simply like, I mean, just electrifying, being there, and that's beyond magical. Can we talk a little bit about, so I guess that's a lot obviously with sacral energy, no? Can we talk a little bit about like that orgasmic energy, that sacral chakra, and how that energy works exactly to create this very powerful healing?
So this energy itself is a very powerful energy. It is the energy that needs to be harnessed and honored for every single person. The reason is because that's the energy that allows us to create things on the physical reality. The second chakra energies are governed by our kidneys, our ovaries, and our testicles. Whenever you feel something is wrong, a balance there, it is because there is a trauma or an event that happened, or an experience or a belief system that you have that is not allowing the full capacity of that energy to operate. That energy there, as it rises up, it activates what we call the Kundalini energy, right? The earth energy. And it activates the pineal, the pituitary, and the hypothalamus, which allows us to see beyond the realms, between times and dimensions. Now, that energy, there is certain breath work that can be done in order to activate this and to trigger that balance within yourself. My favorite for that one is the fire breath, and understanding how it all operates. If you mentally understand the operations of it, you're already activating it to work properly.
Okay.
So it's just awareness already activates it.
Okay, and how do you do the fire breath?
So the fire breath is best done on an empty stomach, obviously. And when you breathe in, you expand the stomach, and when you breathe out, you focus on the breath out really quickly. So this is something that yogis use a lot. So you're breathing in and you quickly focus on the breath out. So breathe in and quickly breath out. And you will feel that energy start pushing you in the lower back. You want to focus on the kidneys, hold your focus there, because as you hold your focus there, it activates the kidneys. And what the kidneys do? They pump the blood through your body. So they raise the blood circulation up through your mind and through the rest of your endocrine system.
Okay, love it. And so, you know, as the sacral chakra and the sexual energy is the energy of creation on the physical plane. How does this translate into relationships and hold space for that energy? Like, when do you choose, for example, to have intercourse with a person or not? Like, and what is the boundary of misusing that sacred energy and actually using it to elevate your vibration or your energy as well?
When you are awakened and spiritually in tuned, you will understand that the person is for you. It is not you searching for them. The energy itself will give you an arousal within your heart space and your mind. It is not something physical that you will like, oh, she looks good, let me go have her, or he looks hot, I would like to have him. No, this is a completely different approach. This is completely understanding where the soul and the spirit comes in together and bonds, and you understand that this is unity consciousness. This is a powerful union of the souls that comes in. During this time period, when two people come in at this beautiful, powerful experience, all of your chakras are activated. All of your being is involved. Not only your being, but other beings that are beyond dimensions are also involved because they see the love and the compassion between them. This energy starts to circulate through your whole system. It starts to vibrate that people will notice that within your eyes. They will notice it within your skin because you are illuminating. This is what we call the Tantric energy, right? This energy has to be properly addressed and properly kind of come into union. Why? Because if we are so eager about it, you might waste it. But if you come from your heart space and you start to come into action with another person, it is a flow and dance that naturally will take you. It is not your mind thinking, I'm going to do this or that. No, it is a dance of the spirit. And nothing else compares to that because there is a certain way of doing this. It's its own technique and tools as well that can be utilized. There's a whole workshop on that you can do, especially because it's very deep of understanding this and experiencing. And after you experience that, you will no longer have these animalistic desires of just to having sex with someone. It is love making because now it's a play of the soul.
So true. So true. And it's so funny because I was having a very deep conversation with two guy friends last weekend about this. And I was trying to explain to them how, you know, sexual energy is sacred and that you really, you know, shouldn't just be having sex unless you feel a strong connection to the person. And then I explained why, and we went in depth. And one of them goes, you know, and mind you, they're going through a beautiful transformation process right now. But they're still trying to understand a lot of these kinds of topics. And one of them just sits there on the chair and goes, yeah, I can totally see that because that happened to me. Like, I was just laying in bed, and I'm not going to go into detail, but he was like, I was doing this, and I was just laying in bed looking at the fan while I was doing this. And I just thought to myself, like, this is so boring. And I'm like, exactly, because you don't have a strong connection. Like, you are misusing the sacred energy. And it was so funny, you know, that even just explaining it to them led them to this deeper understanding. And I'm sure we've all had experiences like that where we're not 100% in the present moment enjoying the act or that dance because we're probably not doing it from that sacred space, from the heart. and honoring that energy and what it has to offer?
We have this connection where our sacred chakra is connected to, when the sacral chakra is connected to your heart chakra, for a male, the erection is more of the love, where it activates the female's energy, where her heart starts to float into the male's heart, and an exchange of heart energy starts to happen. So there are three major energy spots. One is here, in the heart, and the sacral, and second chakra. These energies, when they start to dance, okay, in beautiful infinite flow between one another, what happens is during that time period, your spirit and your soul starts to merge in, and a healing process actually starts to take in the physical body. Your cells start to heal themselves. Now, if you are staying within that frequency, okay, your whole body can be rejuvenated to its perfection. Sexual energy is an energy of transmutation, transformation. It is not just pleasure. Monkeys even understand that. They have pleasure. We are not made just to have pleasure. This is energy to create and to heal. If it's used properly, you can conquer the universe with it.
That's amazing.
So we can, very simple, take a look in the religious parts of it. The popes and the priests do not have intercourse. Why? They understand that this is sacred energy that they need to preserve, but they don't know what to do with it.
Wow.
For a male, it's different to have an orgasm than it is for a female. When a female has an orgasm, it stays in her body. When a male has an orgasm, it leaves the body. So a male has to learn how to channel that energy back up into his body so it comes into the brain, and it actually lubricates the pineal and the hypothalamus and the whole brain and the brain stem. So it's called semen retention. When a male understands how to do that, that circulation actually becomes very electrifying. You will actually feel electricity between those two people coming together, flowing through one another. So the orgasm is not like a physical just orgasm. It is a spiritual orgasm that lasts for minutes, not seconds, but minutes. So it can continue on and on and on if both people are aware of one another and they're staying intimate within one another. They're not thinking, oh, of the other person or this or that. They're in the moment. They have their eye contact. They're there. So everything integrates and everything starts to flow and they become one.
That's amazing. So this is where we add the disclaimer, don't believe us, but please do go try this at home.
Yes.
Okay. Igor, so I mean this topic to me is just fascinating because there's so much to learn, and I love it, and it's so interesting, and it's so taboo, and it's not something we normally tend to talk about, especially not in this space where we're speaking from a place of honoring it and understanding how sacred this energy is. But I think we're almost out of time, and I want to get really quickly to fears before Instagram cuts us off because we only have an hour. So just, I guess, really quickly, fears and, you know, how to understand them so that they don't paralyze you, especially right now where the energy that we're being guided towards is one of taking action, especially to follow our soul mission or our heart mission, and that which might really scare us because it's new and a little bit uncomfortable, but it's going to lead us to greater growth.
Just to tap onto that, we have fear of when we awaken, right? These awakening moments. These, what we call is fear, is it's the same energy as love. It is just our belief system that segregates, separates it, and labels it as fear. And when that happens is because we were taught that. So what it is we have to reteach ourselves and give ourselves different definition for different events that occur. So when you give it a different meaning, that fear is no longer fear, is because you gave it fear. So we have resistance to a lot of these things. I always say, whatever you have resistance to, go with it. Because that is your personality having resistance or fear towards change. Now, once you experience, it's up to you if you want to continue there or not. If you want to stay or go. You want to be in that circle or you want to create your own. But you have fully experienced it and now you understand what needs to be done. Now, fear, we can say, okay, I tripped and I fell, okay, and I scraped my knee, and I'm having fear that I'm going to have injury in my knee. Because you have fear of that, you are creating that. But if you say, oh, I tripped and I fell, the universe is trying to tell me something. What is it? What is it? Instead of being afraid, go within yourself, take a moment, and just feel yourself. And you'll understand that the universe is trying to tell you, slow down. Slow down, maybe, at that moment. Or it's another way of you releasing some sort of karma that you had because you were moving in some certain direction in your life and you had resistance and that energy was there and it kind of had to knock it out of you. And the soul will do everything in its power to kind of align you back towards that direction. But if you have resistance, then it will come that way. Fear is an energy that's stored in our kidneys, and fear is actually stored in our sexual organs. So when we talk about fear, it's understanding how the body works, understanding where to move it, where to breathe in, and being in control of yourself. Fear will start to alleviate and transmute itself, and you will start to less and less have fearful thoughts, but have more positive thoughts. All thoughts originate from our energy fields, not from our mind. And because they originate from our energy field, we are giving it labels. So breath work and just sitting with it. Do not discuss with fear about fear. Just let it be. Because if you discuss fear about fear, and it will continue to grow. So does that kind of make sense? Because energetically, everything is the opposite. We'll say, oh, I'm going to discuss this and I'm going to go deeper into it. You're actually adding that energy and you're allowing it to grow.
So by sitting with it and allowing yourself to feel it, you're allowing it to just flow and embracing it.
Yes. So what happens is your heart space when you just by feeling it. What happens to a child when they trip and fall? They cry. And what do you want to do to them? You want to nurture them, right? Love them. Well, that child with the tripped and fell, he's actually in fear. And what are you doing to it? You're nurturing it.
Okay.
So same thing with your fear. Bring it into your heart. You can nurture it and accept it. And tell, I understand you. I love you. Just that. You will feel the transformation within your energies. For everybody is different. Find your approach. For me, I just sit with it and I just let it play and it naturally just transforms. It naturally transforms because it wants to be recognized. It wants to be held. It is a personality that creates it, an aspect of you. It's like a broken plate, fragments start to float into different parts of your existence. And what it is, you just need to kind of bring them together. And how to bring them together is the heart that holds it all. Everything comes through this heart.
That's amazing.
So once we learn how to nurture it and love it, not to be afraid of it, do not push it away, bring it in and nurture it and love it, and it will transform.
I love that. Igor, thank you. So just so everyone knows, again, disclaimer, please do go try this at home. Don't believe anything we just said. Go nurture your fears, go honor your sexual energy. And, you know, thank you so much, Igor, for taking the time to explain all of this to us, for taking the time to do this interview and having this very deep and healing conversation.
Thank you. And I just want to mention again, Sunday, all those things that we discussed, we will actually go deeper. It's a 3-hour workshop. So people will have time to have for questions as well. And I'll be channeling stuff as well, according to each individual. So depending on the time, obviously. But the questions that you had were wonderful. Thank you very much for allowing me to express myself as well. And much love and light to you.
Of course. Igor, and just really quickly, so the name of the workshop is Activating Energy Bodies. It is virtual or in person if you're in Philadelphia, right?
Correct. Sunday at 3 p.m.
Perfect. And
The link is in my bio to register for the workshop. So people can go to my bio there and register, and I'll be posting more stuff on Instagram and Facebook.
Perfect. So follow Igor, register for the workshop, and this interview will also be posted on YouTube and Spotify, and right here on Instagram. We'll leave it up as well for those of you who weren't able to hear it all, because it was definitely an enlightening conversation. Igor, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a joyful one. Much love. Bye.